Dennis introduced me to Herman. I don't remember where we were, but I was with him at something, and I saw him talking to Herman, and I said, I go, who is that guy, man? And he goes, oh man, it's Herman, man. And I said, Herman fucking who? Who is Herman? He says, Herman the German, man. It's Herman the German, man. he was, the way he said it, he was so excited, right? I could tell he really loved Herman, you know? Because Dennis, believe me, he was a friendly fellow, but if he didn't like you, man, you were not in the room. And I could tell he was really fond of Herman. And when I looked at him, I had this feeling that he was like a genius or something, you know. And now I know it's true because I saw the documentary that he made about Dennis, and he is a genius, aren't you?
It was a real privilege to work with Dennis and to meet him, and that he was a very generous person, you know. And I think creativity, if we talk about creativity, is also an act of generosity, and that's what he was, you know. So he introduced you to me, introduced Julian Schnabel, Isabel Rossellini, many more, you know. And he was a giving person, you know, and he shared his creativity.
I started writing poetry, and you know, I didn't really think anybody would be interested in reading it, or I didn't think it would really go anywhere. But he was the one who, he read it, and then he offered to write the foreword for me for the very first book that I ever wrote. And, you know, having a foreword by Dennis Hopper, it kind of, you know, it kind of legitimized me as a writer just because he did that. And he compared me to Kerouac, and I don't know if he was drunk or if he was super high when he did that, but whatever, it was a huge compliment. It was a giant compliment for somebody to give me, and it was great encouragement for me, because, you know, the problem is when you're a film actor, nobody really thinks that you really can do anything else. You know, if you write a book, oh, well, that's the book the actor wrote. Or if you make a painting, they say, oh, that's the painting that the actor did. Or you know, it's like you're only supposed to be able to do one thing. And so I was very worried about my writing and that nobody would really care that much. But when he encouraged me, it made a big difference. And I don't think I would have kept on. I don't think I would have kept on doing it if it wasn't for him saying that. And he also encouraged me to take photographs. And up to then, you know, I really loved black and white photographs, and he understood that. I mean, he know why. He was the first person I met who understood why I liked black and white photos. And I had a book of photographs published, and that probably never would have happened if he hadn't encouraged me, right?
So he was an encourager and not a discourager.
An enabler. I did a picture called The Getaway, and then I moved to New Mexico when I was doing Wyatt Earp. And so I had all my belongings sent from California to New Mexico. And, you know, I had everything was piled up in the dining room. And I had this one box, and it was all filled up with all these things that I wrote. I would write on anything, man. I wrote a poem on my leg one time in the back of a taxi cab in New York City because I didn't have a piece of paper. And you know, I could write on a napkin or a matchbook or anything. And I had everything in a box. And it was wintertime. It was very super cold outside. And most of the houses in New Mexico, they have like an adobe fireplace, and it's the only way that you can heat the house. And so I went outside, and I was trying to cut some tree branches off to make a fire. and everything was frozen, right? Everything was frozen and wet, and I couldn't get any. I had an axe, and I couldn't get any dry wood. And so I went back in the house, and I was looking around, and I was with a young lady at the time, and I saw that box, right, of all the stuff that I wrote, and I was like, that's perfect, right? I'm gonna burn it, you know. So I took it in the front room, and I was putting it in the fireplace and striking a little match and trying to start a fire. And this girl that I was with, she picked up one of them and she looked at it and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Hey, I'm trying to make a fucking fire." And she said, "Oh my God, you know, this is really good stuff that you wrote here." And so I reluctantly kept it, but it was from that box when I went back to California that when I saw Dennis, I was at his house doing a reading of a script that he had that never got made. But I brought some of that with me, and thank God I didn't burn it up. But when he read that was when he told me that. So it's a long answer to your question, man.
No, but I want an even longer one. So Burning in Paradise is actually the title that was derived from that fireplace situation in a way? Or
yeah.
a bit of inspiration? Yeah?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a cool title.
Also, I mean, it's interesting that our film here on Dennis opens up with hearing a poem that actually Michael did. I flew to California and was invited to a memorial service for Dennis on Santa Monica Pier. Just got out of the plane, quickly put up the camera and recorded that poem. And it was a poem that for the memorial that Michael was dedicating to Dennis. No.
Yeah, I when I heard that, I didn't know where you got that from. I couldn't figure out where the hell you got it from because that was like two things I wrote put together. And I remember that day when I did that, I was really sad, and I was kind of confused, and I tried to combine two things together. I was going to read one, then I was going to read the other, and then I put them together. And you have a recording of it. It's insane that you have that because I didn't remember doing it.
No, but it was a very emotional dedication. I thought so. It was a
It was
nice
a very
opening.
strange day.
Yeah. And there's also some other poetry in the film. I mean, as in the Uneasy Riders, it's Dennis reading his favorite poems by Rainer Maria Rilke, called Letters to a Young Poet, which is sort of a through line of the story of the film. So poetry is a common denominator.
Poetry and creativity. Hermann, to expand a bit on what Michael said before about you. I mean, there's so many people in this film talking about Dennis, and the interesting thing is you two work together already on, or will also work on a further creativity project. You know, because this is what interests you in all of your work. It's about creativity. The divine spark of creativity, I would say. So there was a process before on Easy Rider meetings doing, and you will go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's indeed a never-ending project to reflect about creativity and to basically ask the question why, or what our motives, which is. Sounds like a silly question at first, but if you think about it, it's a question: why do you live? Why do we? It has a metaphysical subtext to it, and it's basically about the motives. And we discussed this morning. You know, what are the creative stimuli of creative people? You know, and there you have
Fear.
Fear.
Fear of the unknown.
As a journey into the darkness.
Yes, it is.
No, but let me ask you about something very specific. That's, you know, you told the story about how you first tried to meet Dennis Hopper, riding the bike there. But something that was why was it Dennis Hopper? Why was he the figure that you always wanted to meet? I know back then you work, if I recall it right, you were working at a gasoline station in Beverly Hills, seeing a lot of stars every day. But it was Dennis Hopper whom you wanted to meet absolutely back in these times.
Yeah, I think it was because of Easy Rider. I mean, I'm a motorcycle guy, and I have been since I was a little boy. And I wanted to meet him because I wondered how much he was like that character that he played. You know, everybody would come in the gas station. Warren Beatty came in there, man, and Cicely Tyson, and Jack Lemmon, and Fred Astaire came in there with a flat tire on Christmas Eve, man. Yeah, it was him. And yeah, he gave me $100 bill. I'll never forget that. Yeah, and I you know, and then he walked away. And I was like, fuck, man. He's like, you gotta give me $100 to change a tire.
Did you fix? Yeah, you fixed it. Yeah, okay.
I sure did. Yeah. But I met all these people that would come in there, and I was really not really. I wanted to talk to Jack Lemmon, but he was in such a hurry all the time. He'd jump out of his car, and he'd run inside and make a phone call, and run back outside. And Warren Beatty would just stare at me, you know, and quizzically, and never understood what that was about. But I always kind of wanted to. I was curious about him for some reason. I wanted to know how much he was like that guy in the movie, and so that's why I did it. So I rode over there.
Was it maybe his what you call linking it to creativity, the rebel gene, you know, the going against the mainstream, going against the Hollywood system, you know, not fitting in.
I could see Peter Fonda's acting. You know, I could catch him in little moments, you know, acting, you know, like the guy on the bike. But Dennis seemed more like he really was like the guy on the bike, you know, and I was curious to know how much of it was acting and how much of it was, you know, real. Because there's very few of them that I've ever met, you know, that I could really say are really the genuine thing. It's like Harvey Keitel is like that. You know, when you meet Harvey, man, he is that guy. That's him, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And Robert Duvall. They're very much the person you see on the movie. That's that guy for real.
It's interesting because you mentioned Harvey. He once told me when he at lunch with Harvey, and he told me when he did with Abel Ferrara, the Bad Lieutenant, you know, about using.
Abel's insane.
Yeah, yeah, but using the needles, you know, yeah. and he said to Abel, I really have to use the needles and put the spike in, you know, into the flesh, so that Harvey wanted to do that, you know, and that's certainly authenticity, you know. Can't
well, I don't know if I go that far.
Be more real than that.
Herman, I'm going to stab myself in the arm, but
yeah, well,
I know what you mean. Yeah. I understand what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
It's this method of approach.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, like if I work with Quentin, when I'm in a movie with him, I make stuff up, and I understand the mentality of a character. And if you understand the mentality, then you can start to write your own dialogue, practically. And, you know, if you have a director who lets you get away with it, then you can say stuff that's not on the page. I'll tell you a really good story about Quentin that's kind of very definitive. Is you know the white Stetson that I wear in Kill Bill, that white hat. All right, so I was in Mexico, in Durango, Mexico. I was working on a really bad movie, and I bought that hat in Durango. And right when I got back to California, I had to start going to the read-throughs for Kill Bill. And I had pretty long hair, and but it was blonde. It was kind of a blondie, weird color, and it's a really long story. But anyway, I started going to the read-throughs in the hat, and I wasn't really doing it on purpose. I just liked the hat, and I got kind of used to wearing it, and so I was wearing it, And I'd do the read-through, and Quentin would be staring at me, and he never. And about the third table read, it was afterwards, and he comes up to me and he goes, Michael, you're not going to wear that hat. And I'm like, what do you mean, man? He goes, no, you think you're going to wear the hat in the movie, right? And I go, oh, no, man, I wasn't really, determined to do it. And he goes, no, but you're not going to wear it. You're not going to wear that fucking hat in the movie. And I was like, okay, man, whatever, But then I started thinking, I really want to wear the goddamn thing. And I was used to seeing myself, and I thought, you know what, this is cool, man. This works for Bud, goddammit. This works for the role, I should wear it, And he's like, and you're going to cut your hair, too. I want you to cut your hair. And I'm like, no, man, I don't want to cut my hair, Quentin. I don't want to. I go, why? You want me to look exactly like I did in Reservoir Dogs? I go, And he's like, well, yeah. And I go, no, man. I go, I work in a strip club. I'm like I know how to use a samurai sword. I'm living in a trailer. I'm a drunk. I'm an alcoholic. I'm not to be all clean cut and all cool. I said, no, man. I'm fucked up. I work in a strip club, And he was like, yeah, And he just kind of begrudgingly went along with me. And then I remember the day that I went to get my, the day I went to play with the guns, I went to play with the shotgun and the handguns and fool around with Bud's guns. And he comes walking up behind me and he goes, hey, Michael. And I go, yeah. And he goes, I was just thinking, I can't picture you now without the hat. Because I've been seeing you wear that hat all the time, and now I can't picture you without it. And I go, oh, okay. Well, that's cool, because I secretly, wanted to wear it. And I'm like, you mean you want me to wear it? And he was like, yeah, you're going to wear it. And I'm like, do I have to? Obviously, secretly, I was really happy. And he goes, yeah, here's how clever he is. So I go to the shoot, right? And the very first stuff I shot in that thing was the stuff in the graveyard with Uma in the back of the truck when I got to pull her out of the back of the pickup truck. And then I jump on her and I offer her the flashlight or I offer her two different things, a flashlight or some other thing. Oh, I have a mace, and I'm going to spray it in her eyeball. And so that was the first stuff I did in Kill Bill on the first night. That was like 4 o'clock in the morning in Culver City, in a graveyard. And it was really late at night, and Quentin was in a really bad mood, and I was super tired, and I didn't want to start with that scene. I just didn't want to start with that scene. I didn't know where to go with the character by starting with that because it was so dark, So he filmed me with the hat, right? And we did the whole thing, all that stuff. And then I didn't work for a couple more days, and then I had to go out to Bakersfield, and we were going to do we were going to start the trailer stuff with David. And so I get there, and he comes over to my trailer, and he knocks on the door, and he's like, hey, Michael. And I go, yeah? And he goes, here, I wrote this here. And he gives me these handwritten pages because he writes everything in hand, believe it or not. Nothing's typed or nothing. And so he gives me these handwritten pages, and I go, oh, thanks, right? And I go sit down, and I'm looking at him, and it's the scene where Larry Bishop tells me to take off the hat. And I'm like, holy fuck, man. And then I'm reading, it's like, hey, take off that shit-kicking hat. That fucking hat. Take off that fucking hat. And I'm reading this dialogue. I'm like, oh, my God. He's going to make me take it off. Right? First he lets me wear it, and then he's going to... he knows the only way I'm not going to wear it is if he writes a scene where I have to take it off. See, because now I can't argue about it, right? Now I have to do it because it's in the script. And so, you see, that's how clever he is. See, he psychologically used me, for my own devious plot, and he used it against me, to have my character demoralized, because I'm not that good of an actor, right? Because when you watch that scene, man, when I take that fucking thing off, I didn't want to take it off, right? And it was Michael Madsen didn't want to take it off. It has nothing to do with Bud at all, right? And it was so demoralizing, and I was like, oh, man. And even as I was doing it, I was thinking in my brain, oh, you clever fucker, right? Oh, God, you made me do it, man. And then Larry's so condescending about it, right? That fucking hat. And the way he looks at me, he's got his legs out, look at that fucking hat. He's like, yeah, fucking hat. He's snorting his blow, and he's got that bimbo sitting there. He's crossing me off the calendar, and that fucking hat. And I'm like, Jesus, Larry, do you really have to emphasize it that much? What are you and Quentin, are you together on the hat thing? Is that it? It was like really weird, and I so he got his way in the end, but I think that's like the definitive story of me and him, and our relationship.
There's a scene on Uneasy Rider about a hell ride where you actually rode in front or on screen together, you and Dennis Hopper, and you were talking about riding the bike. Were there times when you rode together?
When I heard that he was in the movie, it made it all come together for me. And when I first went to the set, the first thing I said was, "Where's my bike?" Right? Because I wanted to see it. And they built that, Fly Ride Choppers built that in Austin, Texas. And they took it off the back of the truck, and I looked at it, man, there's no front brake on it. And I was like, holy shit, man, there's no front brake on the bike, right? Which means that you can't stop on a hill, because if you take your foot off the foot brake, you're going to keep rolling unless you shut it off, But I really liked the bike. It was so cool that I said, man, I'm going to figure this out, right? And later on in the afternoon, Dennis got there. And he gets off the car, and he's looking around, and I was right there when he got there. And the first thing he said was, "Where's my bike, man?" It was so funny. And the transport guys were like, "We better not take it off the truck because, he's an old man. He probably can't ride that fucking thing, He's going to crash, and we're all going to get in trouble." And I was like, "No, man, you guys are insane. He knows how to ride a bike." And they took it off the truck, and he was riding around in the parking lot. And like 10 minutes later, it was really funny. But we got to ride around together a lot when we weren't shooting. We would just go for a little putt up the road or whatever. And I remember, like the third time we went for a ride, we came back down the road again, and I have a great photograph of me and him going like this. We're looking up at the sky and praying. We were praying that I wouldn't kill myself with no front brake.
Yeah, it's in your book, that photograph.
Yeah. He goes, "Get over that thing, man."
It's amazing, with somebody like Dennis, it really took that long, until he was awarded the star, on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, by the city of Los Angeles.
That's because we had that conversation, probably 10 years before that. We were doing a photo shoot for Playboy magazine. Dennis was asked to take pictures of actors, and he picked me and Benicio del Toro and Robert Downey. I forget what year it was, but he was taking these pictures, and we started talking about the Walk of Fame, and I don't remember why. And he goes, "I'm never going to get one of those fucking things, man. Because I have to be dying of cancer, man, before they give me one of those, man." It's kind of ironic and sad that it came true.
Yeah, Satya was even threatening 2 times the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce if he doesn't get it, remember?
Satya was good at that. Yeah, he's a strange character, Satya.
I was just thinking about, since you had this funny story about Kill Bill, the Hateful Eight, why did you poison everybody?
Well, I couldn't get my gun. Couldn't exactly get to my weapons, so decided to poison everyone. I just only wanted to poison Kurt, really. He's the only one I wanted to poison. I didn't, I wasn't angry at anyone else. I didn't hold it against Sam that he stuck a knife in my neck, and, that was okay, but I wanted to poison Kurt. Yeah, you had to get done with him some way or another. It seemed like the only alternative. That's I shouldn't tell, man. Oh, fuck it, I shouldn't say. But you guys saw the movie, didn't you? No, you know what I'm going to tell you. You know when the hand comes in and it pours the poison in the coffee pot. That's Quentin's hand. Yeah, he did that. He did that little insert shot with the poison. It's supposed to be me. Obviously, it's Joe Gage, but he did it. And in Kill Bill, I'm just gonna rat him out now. That fucker. In Kill Bill, when I shoot Uma with the shotgun, she goes flying out the door. Then I come down the steps and I got the syringe and I'm right in her butt. In the insert shot of the hand with the needle in her butt, that's Quentin's hand. He wanted to do that.
Hand of God.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it. So it's his fucking hand, putting the needle in her ass. Yeah, it's his cameo.
A very telling cameo, I would say.
And you know what? I'm gonna tell you another story. The razor that Uma Thurman uses when she's in the coffin, when she's buried alive, the one that she cuts her leg rope with, that's the exact same razor that I used as Mr. Blonde in Reservoir Dogs. Yeah.
So who gave the razor to her, you or Quentin?
No, Quentin
kept the razor.
Kept it because it's his,
okay.
And he gave it to her to use in the scene.
Could have been your razor.
After
Reservoir
if I had been
Dogs.
smart enough to keep the damn thing, right? he after the premiere in London, he comes up to me and he goes, "So, what do you think?" And I go, "Oh, the movie's great." And he goes, "No, Michael, come on, man." He goes, "You didn't see it?" And I go, "What are you talking about, man?" And he goes, "Come on, Michael, you didn't see it." And I go, "I don't know what you mean." And he goes, "The razor, Michael, come on, man. That was your razor. That's Mr. Blonde's razor. I gave her." And I was like, "Oh, man." I go, "Oh, that's really cool. Why didn't you tell me?" And he goes, "I wanted you to ask me." And I said, "Oh, sorry, man." He's a nut. He's very, very, very cinematically insane, but in a good way.
Well, he sparked your perfect dance in Reservoir Dogs.
No, I made that up, man.
You sparked him in that case very much. Well, it's clearly always a dynamic. You made it up in the very moment. The story, it was told before, but please.
Well, that's because I don't know how to dance, because I'm the worst dancer that ever lived in history. And I was really terrified to do that scene because I can't dance at all. And I remember the first time I read the script, it said, Mr. Blonde maniacally dances around the manacled cop. Right? And I was like, wow, what does that mean? I couldn't understand it. Maniacally dances around a manacled cop, I kept thinking it in my brain all the time. He ended up being duct taped and not manacled, but I didn't want to do it, and I thought if I waited long enough, I could get out of it somehow. And when we were doing the rehearsals and the read-throughs, every time we got to that point of the rehearsal, he'd go, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And I'd go, "Oh man, I don't know, man. I don't know." I said, "Let's wait till we shoot it. I'll do something when we shoot it. I promise I'll make up something." And he was like, "Well, okay." And he didn't force me into anything. And I didn't ever do it until the very day when we were in the warehouse and we shot it. And all I wanted to know was how much room I had, like behind the Kirk. And I asked him to play. Originally, he had Barroom Blitz by the Blasters was going to play when Mr. Blonde is doing that torture. But he wanted Steelers Wheel, and he wanted Stuck in the Middle. But he didn't have the rights from Jerry Rafferty. And he said, I really, really hope to get the rights, to that, because that's the song I want. And I said, "Okay, man, well, play it for me." So the very first take, they actually played Stuck in the Middle on a boombox in the warehouse. So I had something to actually respond to. And that's why I'm singing the words of it. And that was the very first take right out of the box. Because we did that 4 times. And the other times I did it, I didn't sing that song because in case he didn't get the rights to it. And I don't know where I came up with that freaking dance. I don't really know where it came from. I just started to listen to the song, and I thought, okay, man, I don't know. It was like a weird, I don't know. I don't know where it came from. It was some bizarre thing. And then the ear, to rat him out one last time, that fucker, because he cut my balls off in Hateful Eight. He really did, trust me. When I had that ear, okay, I didn't know what to do with it. And when I walked into the shot with the ear, if you look at my face, I really didn't know what to do with it. You know? And he was standing over next to the camera, and he was going, throw it. Michael, throw it. Get rid of it. Throw it, Michael. Throw it. Michael, throw it. And I was hearing his voice, and I was just like, wow, man, you know, I didn't really just want to throw it. I thought, what am I going to do? I just cut this poor guy's ear off. You know, what can I do? That would be really crazy. And so I went, hey, man, can you hear me? And I spoke into the ear. I mean, it's an ear, after all. And he's sitting right there. I thought, God, what could be worse, right? You know, for someone to do that to you. And so I spoke in it. And I thought it was funny. And then I threw it, right? And I didn't really think that much about it. And Quentin never said a word to me. But like about 2 days later, he comes up to me and he goes, hey, Michael, you remember when you threw the ear? I mean, remember when you talked in the ear? And I go, yeah, I remember. And he goes, it's in the movie. We're going to keep it in the movie. And I remember thinking, wow, well, yeah. Oh, thanks, man. Now you're going to get the credit for it, you know? It was my idea, man. You know, I need a co-writer's credit or something, you know.
So you're really a muse in a way for Quentin.
Well, yeah, yeah. It's just funny how these things over time, you know, become these iconic things, and then when you look back, when I watched that movie, all I can remember was my pants were too fucking tight. You know, I my suit didn't match, my jacket didn't match the pants. It was from two different suits, and everybody was supposed to come to work in black dress shoes, and I didn't have any black dress shoes, but I had black cowboy boots. So I thought I could trick Quentin by having these black cowboy boots, and he wouldn't realize that they were boots, you know. He would just see the foot part, right? And you think, oh, Michael showed up in the black shoes like I told him to, you know. And I thought I could trick him, you know. And then I made the stupid mistake of when I got the razor and we were rehearsing, I didn't know what to do with the goddamn thing. And so I was over by the table, and I put my foot up, and I was sticking it in my boot. And he saw me doing it. And he goes, oh, you got boots on? I go, yeah, I do, yeah. You know, and that's why the razor's in the boot. You know? If he ever sees this tape, man, he's never going to hire me again. I'm sorry, Quentin. It's over. We had a good run, man. It's over. That's what you get for cutting my best stuff out of Hateful Eight.
At the end, it's film history.
Yeah, no, it is, yeah. But no one knew that then. If I think truly, honestly, if I'd have dropped that Zippo lighter, okay, and if that flame would have raced up the floor to that poor policeman, and if he would have been burning alive, screaming, oh my God, as he's burning, and then I was shot by Tim, bam, 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 right? If I was getting shot at the same time the cop was on fire, that would have been really disturbing to me, right? I mean, think of it, man. Holy shit, man. Wow, man, right? Can you imagine? Oh, my God, right?
Yeah,
I tried to get him to
dying.
do it, but he wouldn't do it. He goes, no, Michael, it's too much. That would be too much. You know, if there's one thing about a Tarantino picture is that it's a lot of fun, you know? I mean, yeah, when we're not shooting, man, they just crank up the sound. We have the same sound guy who did the sound for Titanic. He sits in a van outside the set. He doesn't even come on the set. And he has his own personal selections of music. And you never know what it's going to be. I mean, it could be the Ramones, or it could be the theme from the Flintstones, you know what I'm saying? It's just crazy. And you never know what he's going to put on. but when we're not shooting, something will come on, and we get to hear it, and it's fun. It makes everybody really calm down, and it's a really nice, friendly set. And Quentin loves to tell stories to everybody. There's the problem with working for him is that when you go and you work on another movie, it's really a bummer because it's not the same environment, you know, it's not the same fun, it's not the same kind of situation, and you wonder, you go, oh man, why? Oh no, you know, I'm back in hell.
One question for Hermann again, because you worked 3 times with Dennis in the 90s. You know, and into the 2000s. There's a lot this Rilke readings. There's stuff from different processes, different moments you did together all throughout your new movie. So,
yeah, there were exits. We did 3 films together between '95 and 2000. It's a trilogy called The Fine Art of Separating People from Their Money. The Fine Art, the A to Z, and the 10 Commandments, that's what we did. And the first one we shot in Morocco, and the other ones in studios, in Warner Studios here in Germany. And yeah, that was fun because it was all about Dennis being a Renaissance man, so a man who bridges different art forms, who bridges directing, acting, photography, poetry. And so this was about the crossing over of the different creative disciplines, and it was great fun for Dennis to do. And yeah, that stuff will go out on a platform. On the Journeyman platform, and what we have in relation to Michael here, we did the Rilke poetry, which we shot in London, and the whole book, and this is the through line of the story of Uneasy Rider. So all in all, we did 5 projects, but we always stayed in touch because we presented those films in Cannes and everywhere, and it was a great relation. Like Michael said in the beginning, Dennis was an encouraging, creative guy, you know, and that's the through line of the story.
There was another thing that happened on Hellride that I just remembered. There was a certain person in the cast who couldn't actually ride a motorcycle, and I'm not going to say who it was. That would really be cruel. But there was a character that couldn't ride a bike, and but was supposed to ride a bike, and who is riding a bike, but when they're on the bike, they're actually in the back of a truck, and the camera is on them, and it looks like they're riding the bike, but they're not really riding the bike. And anyway, on the day that we discovered that this person couldn't ride the bike, it was Dennis who came to get me. I was in my trailer, and he's like, Michael, come here, man. Or no, he used to call me Madsen. Madsen, come here, man, come here. And I came out of the trailer, and I go, what? And he goes, come here, man, come here. And we go in his trailer, and from his trailer, you could see where they were filming on this little hillside. And he opens up the curtain, and he goes, look. So I look out the curtain, and there's this actor, and he's sitting on the motorbike, and there's 3 transpo guys pushing him into frame on the bike. Right, and he's all like, you know, and there's 3 guys like pushing him into the right in front of the camera, you know. So he looks like he's all cool, like stop, you know, like, yeah, man, I'm just pulled up. You know? But he didn't even just pull up; he was being pushed into frame. And Dennis, and he saw that, and he saw me see it. He goes, "Can you believe it, man?" And I was like, "No, my God!" And he started laughing so hard. His face was like bright red, and he couldn't stop laughing, and I was laughing, and he actually fell like on his knees, like in the camper, and he fell over on the side of his body, and he was laying on the floor like a little child, like in a fetal position, just hysterically cracking up because this guy couldn't ride the bike, and seeing him laugh like that was more funny than the guy who couldn't ride the bike. and it was making me laugh so funny. It was so funny. Did you ever see him laugh like that? Oh
Yeah,
my God,
well, I mean,
man.
he was a very, very, very funny person. You know,
But the fact that-
incredibly, you know, and this is one thing we miss about him. We miss his laugh, you know, and we miss the way he says "man." You know, he said it a lot. Yeah.
Hey man, what's up, man? It's Herman
Yeah.
the German, man.
Well, there's an original poster of Easy Rider. I don't know where you got that from right now. You got one of those? Yeah, I do. Maybe you want to have that in between. That is kind of no, in between of you, of course. You are the Easy Riders. Okay.
See whose bike is cooler. See.
Would you see Michael? Would you put your signature on it, and I will hold it. Can we do that? Oh, let's do it. Let's do it this way. Huh? This way it's easier. Something like that. Can we? No. I don't know how to do it. Right on me. Well, I would easily accept that. No, we'll do it. No, let's do it here. Huh? All right. All right.
That's a creative way to figure it out.
Yeah.